What up, guys? My Vernon Kid here back again. How's everybody doing? And today, guys, still hitting you guys with some more requests you guys have requested or things like that, and I'm here to do it for you guys. So appreciate it. Much love and respect to all my pack members, and respect to everybody who's been following the rules, leaving me the links, putting that hashtag. Please react, course. I appreciate that very much. So today, this one actually comes from Nightwing 82 again. What up? And it is from top 15, so it's a top 15, and it's called Top 15 Scariest Stranger Encounters in the Forest. Okay, this should be interesting. I do watch a lot of Top 15, their channel. I like their channel pretty good. I think it's voiced by Chills. He's pretty cool. He has that really kind of voice like this. My name is Chills, and if you want to see what I look like, you go. He's good people. Good people. Um, but we're here to watch this now. Being that this is a top 15, not sure how much I'm gonna show, but I am gonna chop this up. So, but as always, link in the description down below if you want to watch the rest of the vid. I think I may go only to maybe 15 to 10 or 15 to 9. We'll see. But you want to watch the rest, link in the description down below as always. So you hit that play button. God damn it. You gonna get your entertainment's worth. Let's do this now.
Number
You see what I'm talking about?
15,
His
The
voice.
Machete
The what?
Man. We've all ventured into the wilderness. Some of us come out of it just fine, others not so much. Redditor R.S. Heavy is one of the latter. He tells a story about hiking on a trail in the woods that didn't end in his demise, but most certainly in tremendous fear. He and his group of 3 male friends, one of whom was carrying, headed out on the trail. They were familiar with the terrain and had never encountered anything very strange there. But this time, they spotted a man further along the trail, bent over with one of his hands on a tree. No one else was around. When the group was in shouting range, about 50 feet away, they asked if he was okay. They thought perhaps he needed some help. The man didn't respond. The 4 boys rounded the bend in the trail, keeping their distance but hoping to see the guy better. They shouted their concern again, but he still didn't answer. The bravest of the boys approached the guy and quickly stopped dead in his tracks. Weapon, he yelled back. The man was holding a large knife or machete. When he heard the OP's friend yell, he stood up and faced the group, the blade in his hand. Hey man, we don't want any trouble. The friend brandished his gun and told him not to come any closer. The stranger remained mute but ignored the order and took a slow step towards the group. The OP's friend who had neared the man began backpedaling, while the friend with the gun repeated his order. Still, the guy remained mute. He took a small step and came to a halt. One more step, halt. Another step, halt. As though he was playing a game, the wielding friend told everyone to leave, and as he kept the machete man in his sights, the group ran out of there. The machete man didn't speed his pace or follow them, but once they were safely out of the forest, they called it in to the cops, thinking perhaps they'd met some lunatic, escaped from the asylum. Now that's a scary thought.
The fuck?
Number 14, The Forest Children. Redditor Hamian shared this seriously scary story about an encounter in the forest near Pisgah. The OP and 2 friends went off the beaten path and camped in an area that appeared as though it had been used before. When they tucked in for the night, rain started to downpour and they all fell asleep. They were woken by the thunder in the middle of the night, and only then did they hear some childlike voices in the vicinity of where they packed away their food. In the OP's own words, we just assumed another hiking group had found our food, but then I realized that I was only hearing kids' voices, sounded like 5 or 6-year-olds. I thought for sure they were animal noises, but then I heard a child. High-pitched laughter. That's when the fear kicked in. What were children doing out in the middle of the forest in a rainstorm at night? When the voices ceased, the OP thought his imagination had gotten away from him. But then he looked over at his friend and he was horribly pale. Just as the OP was about to ask if he'd heard that, soft footsteps came towards the tent. The thing, whatever it was, came so near that they could hear the leaves crunching beneath its feet. But after a moment's pause, just like that, it walked away. Everything appeared untouched the next morning, and the OP and his friend never talked about the incident. Number
Damn.
13, Crazy Mountain Man. Redditor C. Wheezy retold a life story that his father once told him. The OP's family is full of outdoorsmen, and when his father was 10 years old, he was visiting a family friend at his hunting cabin. He went to explore the forest. Being only 10, he quickly found himself lost amongst the pine trees of Flagstaff, Arizona. He was scared, so when he came across a cabin in a clearing, he shot toward it to seek help. As he ran towards it, a man stepped out from behind the trunk of a tree and placed a .44 Magnum hunting revolver to his forehead and pulled the hammer back. The boy froze. The crazy mountain man asked who he was. The 10-year-old took ages to choke out the answer and said he was lost and looking for so-and-so's cabin. After a terrifying eternity, the man put his gun away, glared at him, and told him how to get back to his friend's cabin. He also said that he'd better not catch the child on his property again, and he didn't. The OP's father lived to tell the tale. Number
The
12,
hell, man?
Ghost. This next entry was posted by Redditor Greenhead Slayer. This one will send chills up and down your spine. The OP states that he and his friends were heading up to the mountains during the middle of the winter to go snow tubing. On one of these
Notices a lot of
occasions, a
Redditors writing this
snowstorm
stuff
hit
too.
during the dark of night as the OP drove the vehicle, dragging one of his friends on the tube through the snow. Another of his friends shone a spotlight to the side of the truck. The driver saw a man in a red plaid shirt, an orange baseball cap, and jeans. As we made eye contact, he writes, "I lost all control of my body for probably only 5 seconds, but it felt like an eternity." He immediately brought the truck to a halt and asked his friends if they too had seen the man. No one had, but he turned the vehicle around anyway to investigate. The investigation turned up nothing. When they arrived home that night, the OP informed his father about what happened. Then on the news a week after he'd seen the man, a body had been found in that same area, and the police were asking for tips. The OP called in at his father's insistence and told the police what he'd seen. An investigator came by, and the OP said he'd seen that man a week before. The investigator looked surprised, asking the OP if the date was sure. When he confirmed it was, the investigator showed him a picture of the body, dressed in the same clothing. As the OP writes, turns out it was a man who suffered from some mental handicaps and took his life on the mountain 1 month before I saw him. Number 11, the Marine. This entry was submitted to the lineup by the Kessler. The OP was taking a road trip with his girlfriend from BC to San Diego when they decided to camp near Crescent City, California. One section of the campground was pretty empty, so they set up camp in one of the remote sites. After winding down for the night in their teepee on the roof of their car, the OP heard someone whistling at around 1 a.m. right outside their tent to the tune of "When the Saints Come Marching In." Time passed and still the whistling. The OP woke his girlfriend, who was totally freaked out. Suddenly, in place of the whistling, a male voice began to chant, "When you sleep here, you disrespect me. And when you disrespect me, you disrespect the U.S. Marines." The noises continued as the stalker started to spell out words like "flee," and his voice became more aggressive, so they decided they couldn't stay there.
Get the hell out of there.
Get any sleep anyway. So the OP
God
unzipped the tent and
stupid
outside.
dog, man. That creeped me out.
He hopped down
that
from
picture
the roof
came out of nowhere.
lifted his guard dog, who hadn't done much guarding, into the vehicle, and he and his girlfriend took off to find a motel in Crescent City. While the Marines, still whistling throughout their great escape, they returned to the campground the next day to pick up their things, and they discovered the Marine wasn't a figment of their imagination. A family who had been camping a few sites over said it went on for another 2 to 3 hours, and it was the scariest thing that their family had ever
Okay, question.
experienced, he writes. Number 10, Australian
Oh
Terror.
God.
This one comes from an anonymous Australian Redditor who would often camp out in the bushland of his father's
Okay.
property. On one of these occasions, he was camping with two school friends. The OP's father told him that he might try and scare his camping buddies
So
that
we're dealing
night.
with the
So
land
the
down
friends
under now.
headed
All
off
right.
into the bushland,
Still want to go
hiking
there.
for 4 hours before setting up camp in a clearing. As they searched for firewood, they discovered loads of old bones that almost looked like wood. As the land had previously been farmland, they decided the bones were from cattle. Of course, they also told each other scary stories around the campfire about the real origins of these bones, even burning some of those they'd collected.
What?
After settling in for the night, the OP was woken at around 1 a.m. by one of his friends, who said he'd seen a torchlight on the wall of the tent. Thinking it was his father coming to scare the other boys, the OP started playing along, worrying aloud that it might be a butcher of humans or an escaped convict. As he spoke, the torchlight shone on the tent again and then shut off. Sticks and leaves began crunching outside the tent as someone moved around it. Then began the whispering and mumbling. There was more than one person whispering. The OP thought that
Get
some
out
of
of
his
there.
father's friends had accompanied him. The torchlight shone again, right against the wall of the tent, and tapping began sounding over the roof as the whispering kept on. Suddenly,
Y'all
doubt
got
crept
weapons, right?
in. My dad had brought some friends in on the prank and convinced them to walk 4 hours through dense scrub in the middle of the night just to shine a torch on our tent, he wrote. It suddenly seemed a stretch. After an hour of terror, the whole thing ceased altogether. The OP's buddies were sobbing, and the moment the sun rose, they shot out of camp. When they arrived home, the OP's dad apologized that he couldn't come out and visit them that night. When they told him about their midnight encounter, he was horrified. Years later, the OP and his
That's
friend
Luke
discovered a
Cage.
shack with bullet holes
Why you
through
use?
it nearby where they'd camped that night. Alongside it, 2 axes, firewood, and a 44-gallon drum of burned clothing. In the end, the OP and his friends were quite lucky. Who knows what might have happened to them that night? Number 9. The Metal Burial. Have you ever accidentally walked up on a secret burial? Redditor Airwalker DNB Music has. The OP was hiking through the UK's dense forest, and as night was fast approaching, he launched back to his campsite. Though he had no flashlight, his phone screen was bright enough to guide his way. Further along the path, he suddenly spotted 2 men with spades pushing something heavy into a hole
What?
in the ground that they'd assumingly just dug up. The OP said it clanged metallically as it was pushed in, so he doesn't believe it was a body. The pair then spoke a few words over the hole before covering it again. Creepy, yes. Criminal, maybe, maybe not. The OP would rather think they were just putting a dear friend to rest. Maybe they were burying a robot who expired, he
What?
writes. Others on the thread suggest a darker explanation. Lost son of Pluto responded, or they were smart enough to put the body of the guy they took the life of in a metal box so police dogs couldn't find it. Let's hope the OP was more on the nose.
All right, this is the
Number
last one I'm gonna
8.
show.
The Banging. Swedish Redditor Zixer Bunny posted about his scariest encounter with strangers in the forest, and it just might send chills up your spine. He was hiking in a forest at night with a friend. He'd usually go out with a group of 5 or more people, but this time it was just the 2 of them. They were walking and chatting, minding their own business, when they passed near a bridge. The OP heard a strange noise, and
That
he
bridge
told his
looked
friend
creepy
to
as hell right
listen.
there.
They thought it sounded like footsteps crossing a wood floor beneath the bridge, which was weird because there was water
It's the
under
Goat
there.
Man?
They
No, wait.
started to
He said
get
Sweden, right?
scared,
Yeah,
so they
sorry.
decided to leave. But before they could, they saw a
The
man next
hell
to a
is
tree in the
that?
distance watching them. They both screamed. The OP's friend asked the man what he
That's
was
not the man,
doing, and
right?
suddenly the
That's a
whole
that's
bridge
just a
started
random
to
picture.
shake. They spotted a man in a black hoodie racing off, and he seemed to completely vanish. When they looked back to see the other man who had been standing next to the tree, he too had vanished. The pair were deep in the forest and had to pass that tree in order to get out. They passed it with
You had a
no
gun, right?
issues and then came
With some
upon an
weapons,
open
man.
field. They crossed the field to a less forested area and sat down to rest. Then they heard a horrible banging, like someone pounding on a door. It was emanating from behind the OP. The OP's friend thought it might be a woodpecker, but the sound was just too loud and melodic, and it seemed to be coming from inside the tree, as though someone was trying to get out of it. Fear made them race across the field again, but they still heard the banging. This time it seemed as though it was in the air, echoing. On the other side of the field, they crossed paths with a female jogger, and they asked her if she had heard the noise. She hadn't. They could never figure out what happened that night. Were the men and the sound connected? Had they encountered a ghost who was trying to get out of that tree? They'll likely never know.
All right, y'all. We gonna end it right there. Yeah. So I gave you 15 to 8. You go watch 7 to 1 for the rest of the vid. You want to see? Check it out for yourself. This was from top 15. Um, Scary encounters in forest. Like I don't. I haven't gone camping in years, so I can't really comply too much with these stories. But I did get a trend that most of these people are from Reddit. They wrote these encounters, and now my mind hearing the stories, my crazy mind starts envisioning what they saw. Now, whether you're in the forest or not, look, you come with a weapon. I don't care. Like that one with that machete man. What the hell? Like you heard what he was saying. Dude said stop, and he kept going. That fool was ready to kill. So if he had said he pulled out a machete. The mountain crazy mountain man. Word? Hell no. Um, and Chills, he don't do any better with his creepy voice. Like yo, but like I said, he does a good job at voicing it. But you did get a trend that a lot of this stuff came from Reddit. Now some people say that's why we blacks don't camp and stuff like that. Well, I guess I haven't done camping in years. I used to camp all the time, but I've never encountered anything like that. Yeah. Uh, but up to each his own, right? But look, guys, you guys tell me in the comment section below. What did you think? Um, Creepy? Was it scary? I kinda, because my mind is crazy and it starts playing tricks. Like my mind goes into overdrive when I hear stuff like this. Visuals wise, okay, y'all saw me jump a little. That dog picture came out of nowhere. That's why I jumped a little bit. But crazy Marines, crazy mountain men. No, no. But other than that, guys, this is Mom and Kid saying peace and love. Stay tuned. Keep it real. Your alpha will be back next time. Take care, guys.